Well, there goes a peep on a mission. That boy is just now 3 weeks old. Oh, goodness, boys. Oh, flutter muffin. There's everyone eating food. Be careful not to get too close to that Gus. Gus will fight you. Where is he going? Oh, a flutter muffin. Oh, a flutter muffin. Oh, this boy. Oh, this boy. Not going straight back in your box just yet? They have moved into the spacious new box next door. Pretty. Beep. Where are you going? Beep, beep. Okay. And I forgot that I usually come inside and do... Oh, my spine is stiff today. I usually come inside and do videos with Oliver. He doesn't really need to be the focus of Breakfast with Birds today. Hi, Cookie. Hi, Miss Cookie. That's Sissy up there trying to woo him a Kara. Where is that Kara? There she is. Well, Escher is definitely retiring early. Hi, Puddin'. Gus. I didn't really get a chance to discuss our changes in direction yesterday, so I'll go ahead and take some time to do that today. So we were going to save up to buy an 8x8 by 6'7" enclosure, so that we could handle emergency intake from things like lofts being broken down. And we would have basically had to save up $700 towards that goal. But the hubby pointed out that we don't own the land we live on. We rent here at Mims Trailer Park. Our landlord allowed us to put up the storage shed and the loft. And there is concern that if we ask to put up another building, if we ask to put up another structure, he'll be upset about it. There's a couple other factors on top of that. The enclosure we're planning to get is steel, and steel is valuable enough that there is a risk in this specific area of it being broken down and destroyed for the recycling. I don't know if recycling centers are even open. If that would be worth the effort of doing right now for anybody inclined to attempt it. But the other issue is more one of my personal physical health. I can manage what I've got. And if I give myself too much ability to intake too many, I will basically feel guilty if I don't take in everything that I can. That guilty feeling, however, doesn't take into account what I can physically manage. So not having that temptation there to bite off more than I can chew will prevent me from stretching myself so thin that I can't take adequate care of the birds staying here. So instead of purchasing a new enclosure, we're going to focus on the spaces we have available. And 8, when it comes to live animals, is not a small number as far as the responsibility of taking care of them goes, or for that matter, as far as the vet bills to get them clean go. But that's about the limit of how many extra I could physically manage dealing with. So we'll keep our limit at that, and instead of saving up for a new enclosure, those funds, as we acquire them, will be freed up for things like veterinary care or things like sorry, I'm struggling with words at the moment. Things like postage, because one of the things I wanted to do was, if another rescue ended up being overwhelmed because they happened to be closer to a loft that shut down or to a place where young birds are regularly dumped, I could say, I have this many spaces, we can take this many birds, and part of the funds that we're saving up would go towards getting those birds safely transported here. So I think that's where we're going to focus our fundraising on. We're also going to be changing a few things in our breeding program. As you've seen over the last couple of days, we've had some health issues crop up in both Astrid and Ferdy's lines, and they are related to a lot of the birds that we have here right now. So we're in kind of dire need of new blood. There are 5 more breeds that I want to incorporate into the project for various reasons. Those being the Utility King, the West of England Tumbler, the Danzig High Flyer, exhibition, not performance, the German Nun, and the Valencian Figurita. We want the Utility King, even though we're trying to breed the size down, for their absolutely fantastic temperament. Utility Kings are an extremely docile breed. They have a fairly high breeding drive because they are a production breed. And they are overall pigeon-shaped. They are basically just Pippin over there scaled up to a roughly 1.5 pound bird. That size is going to be a problem, but the rest of the loft being much smaller partners, we should be able to breed that down. The West of England Tumbler is another known to be excessively docile. Breeders who work with them say that they're really easy to handle, really content with being handled, not particularly flighty. I'm a little bit concerned that it's due to the sheer size of their muffs making walking uncomfortable and producing enough drag that flying isn't particularly comfortable either. So they end up being still most of the time. Most of the birds in the loft are either clean-legged or very short-muffed, with like one exception, possibly two exceptions. So we're hoping that the contribution of clean-legged and short-muffed breeds will mitigate the sheer massive length of the English tumbler, or I'm sorry, the West of England tumbler's muffs. We will be looking specifically for a cull, for an individual whose muffs are so short that their breeder doesn't want to show them or use them for breeding. That is considered an undesirable trait in the show ring. But it is a very desirable trait to me because Cody has more muff than I'd like for him to have. He has enough that he does more flying than walking, and he flies when he doesn't want to walk. Pigeon's natural mode of transportation when not trying to get somewhere up high is to walk. They are much more comfortable walking if they don't need to change their elevation. So a bird that is not comfortable walking over even something as wide as my 10 by 10 floor is not okay with me. So we'll hopefully be able to breed that trait out of future generations, but we will be starting with a bird whose muffs are poor quality and short, if we can find one. The Danzig High Flyer is pretty, but I'm not so much interested in the pretty as I am in, again, the absolutely fantastic temperament. What I have seen of the breed in other people's homes, in particularly a house pet context, is that the exhibition Danzig High Flyers specifically are excessively docile. They bond really, really easily to people. They really like to be handled. They target train easily. Those are traits that I want. They're also a clean-legged breed, which will help us mitigate our muffed breeds. And they are a medium-sized breed, which will help us bring down extremes of large size, like Sissy's genetic contributions, for example. The biggest downside to Danzigs is that Danzigs have a wider than normal tail fan. Not by very much, but still wider than normal. And very fluffy butts, which can make completing the cloacal kiss a little difficult. Now, that is annoying for me as a breeder, but for somebody who has house pets, it can be nice to have some, sorry, I lost the word there, some built-in hatch control. So that's not a trait I'm particularly keen to get rid of. We have some other long-feathered fluffy butt breeds incorporated into this project. For example, frillbacks and Modena. Frillback and Lahore have very long flights, very long tails, and something associated with those long flight and tail feathers are longer than normal feathers covering the vent. And mechanically, sometimes the birds cannot spread them far enough to actually complete the cloacal kiss. So there is a mechanical barrier to the passage of sperm from cock to hen. But if you are breeding, you have to trim those to get around. Now, you don't have to cut the tail feathers all the way down. That's actually really stressful on the birds and will make them much less likely to attempt to copulate. What you do is you just trim the excess fluff around their vent until it's exposed. And for birds with a very wide tail fan, meaning that they have more than 12 tail feathers, by the way, you trim 1, 2, 3 of the tail feathers towards the base on each side of the tail so that the cock can more easily tuck his tail underneath the hen and can more easily complete the cloacal kiss. If you are not breeding them, this is not necessary. You can keep them in full tail and full butt fluff. It's not going to hamper anything except their ability to reproduce. And if that's not what you have them for, then it's not a problem. The fourth breed on our list, and we're honestly kind of waffling on this one, it's not a necessity, is the German Nun. I love the look of them, but that's not why I'm interested. They are so docile that they have a reputation for being stupid. Like, they are so fearless of people that they're too dumb to get out of the way. Now, the rest of the birds here in the loft are reasonably intelligent. They know when it's a good idea to get around me, and they know when it's okay to be on top of me. So if they really are less intelligent than other breeds, then we can pretty easily mitigate that. A concern with the German Nun is that hens are notoriously bad setters. She will lay an egg wherever she happens to be standing, as if she were squeezing out an unpleasantly large hard poop, and then walk away from it. Now, from what I understand, if you can get them to set and hatch, they are fantastic parents. They're attentive to their squeakers, they have no trouble feeding them, but the problem is just getting them to recognize an egg as something to lay in a nest and sit on. So I will be looking specifically for a cock if I can find one, because the hens here, for the most part, have absolutely no problem sitting eggs. Ooh. I hear that, Betty. I hear that, boy. But that's also why we're waffling on that breed. I really don't want to pass genetics on that could encourage them to abandon eggs and potentially squeakers. So, not absolutely certain on that one, but it has some good traits. We are also on a waiting list for Valencian figuritas, and those, aside from being very curious and reasonably human-friendly, I have specifically for bringing down the size. We would like the average of this new breed that we're developing to be no bigger than Vinny if we can arrange it, because the ideal bird bred specifically for therapy needs to be an easy bird to house for the average person who may or may not have space for a Great Dane sized dog kennel. And pigeons are happiest and therapy pigeons are at their best if they can free roam. Not outside, mind you, just free roam your house the way you'd let a cat or dog. They like being able to do their own thing and come see their person when they want to come see their person. birds that are closely bonded to you and are aware that things happen, and who considers my my shutdown to be something happened, will come and check on you much more frequently and keep much closer tabs on your general state. That's just something they're naturally inclined to do. It's what makes them good therapy animals. So we're trying to breed traits into them conducive to that. And we're also trying to get rid of the health problems that we have found in some of our starter families. Okay, well, we're a little past the 20-minute mark, so I will go ahead and sign off here. In addition to our clients, adopters, and apprentices, I would like to thank our subscribers here on YouTube, our patrons on Patreon, the friends of our business page on Facebook, and our followers on Tumblr, Instagram, and Twitter. We are the Ramsey Loft on all platforms for your contributions, both financial and intellectual. We will reconvene later with training time with Oliver.